it is quite clear that Justin Trudeau will try to do anything to stay onto power.
Conservative leader Andrew Scheer is addressing minority parliament scenarios today, saying the party that wins the most seats but falls short of a majority deserves to form government. He defended that position in Brampton, Ontario. He also made a campaign stop in North York before flying out to Little Harbour, Nova Scotia. The CBC's Katie Simpson is covering the Conservative campaign for us. Katie?
Vashi, despite what the rules dictate, Conservative leader Andrew Scheer says the political party that wins the most seats on election night should be allowed to govern. Well, that sounds very straightforward. It's not exactly how the government works in Canada. And with the polls so tight, it looks more and more likely a minority government may be what Canadians send to Ottawa. And that's why these comments are so important. In a minority situation, parties can work together. Say if the Liberals work with the NDP, Justin Trudeau would be able to maintain the confidence in the House of Commons, and he could stay on as Prime Minister even if the Conservatives win the most seats. Clear as mud, eh? Scheer doesn't think that should happen, even though the rules allow for it.
What I'm saying is that the party that wins the most seats should be able to form the government. And the other convention in modern Canadian politics is that a prime minister who enters into an election and comes out of that election with fewer seats than another party resigns.
Minority governments of any form require cross-party collaboration, and that could be very difficult for Scheer, who has really isolated himself from the other leaders because of his climate plan, which his main opponents all argue isn't strong enough, and with his stance on certain social issues. The NDP immediately ruled out propping up a Conservative minority when Scheer refused to apologize for his anti-same-sex marriage speech in the House of Commons from 2005. Scheer says his priority for the last stretch of this campaign, though, is to get a strong majority mandate from Canadians so he doesn't need to work with anyone else.
Right now, we've got an electoral system that means that the results of elections have often been ones where less than half of Canadians choose a certain party and they get all the power. And that's wrong.
NDP Leader Jagmeet Singh was also in Ontario today. He blamed the prospect of a minority parliament on Liberal Leader Justin Trudeau, who reneged on his promise to reform Canada's electoral process. Singh made those remarks in Welland, Ontario, later visiting an elementary school in Toronto. He ended the day with a rally in Brampton. The CBC's Hannah Thibodeau is covering the NDP's campaign. Hannah?
Hey Vashi, this is NDP leader Jagmeet Singh's last day in Ontario, but his first stop in Niagara. And he visited the Blue Star Diner. It's a favorite place for federal leaders during an election. In 2015, Liberal leader Justin Trudeau made a campaign stop, and today Singh was able to draw the same large crowd. And the owner says it's Welland's unofficial straw poll.
Well, Justin had that rock star status, and a lot of people didn't know too much about Scheer, but he's doing really good, I guess.
Singh was asked about Conservative leader Andrew Scheer, saying if he wins the most seats but not a majority, the Liberals and NDP better respect that and let him form government.
Just because Mr. Scheer thinks that if he gets a certain number of seats that we're going to give up fighting against Conservatives. No, we're going to always fight Conservatives because we don't believe in their cuts to services. We don't believe in how they could harm people. We're going to fight that.
Singh continues to repeat he'll do whatever it takes to stop Andrew Scheer from becoming Prime Minister, and telling voters not to believe Scheer when he tries to lead people to think that a coalition is a dirty word. After a day in Ontario, Singh is expected to spend the remainder of his time campaigning in British Columbia, where many of the races are extremely tight.
I am focused on forming a government of progressive Canadians, including a strong number of Quebecers.
Liberal leader Justin Trudeau spent a second straight day in Quebec, where support is crucial to the Liberals' fortunes. He started his day in Trois-Rivières, later making stops in Terrebonne and Sainte-Therese. He wrapped up his day in Montreal. Salima Shivji is covering the Liberal campaign for us. Salima?
Hey Vashi, well, I sort of feel like a broken record today, mainly because listening to Justin Trudeau, it sort of feels like his message is on loop. A second day of campaigning here in Quebec because of just how important it is, trying to stop the bleeding with votes shifting towards the Bloc Québécois. The Liberals may be in danger of losing some 10 seats in this province, some important seats, some high-profile candidates, when they really wanted to gain to offset losses elsewhere. So we really saw Justin Trudeau sticking to his message track, actually stopping in Trois-Rivières, which is a vulnerable NDP seat, then on to Terrebonne, a solidly Bloc riding, then Sainte-Thérèse here, which is a vulnerable Liberal seat, before ending in Rosemont, an NDP seat that could be one of the few seats that party keeps here in Quebec. And in all of those stops, Justin Trudeau really staying with his message, trying to hammer home his call to a strategic vote.
The choice is very, very clear for Canadians. Do we continue with a progressive government that is investing in Canadians, growing the economy and fighting against climate change? Or do we go back to Stephen Harper's austerity and cuts with the progressive opposition?
And Vashi, Justin Trudeau really not entertaining any hypotheticals about what he would do in a minority situation, because why would he? It doesn't really benefit his message at this point in the campaign as he fights for those votes and fights for his survival. He's really only talking about one hypothetical, which he keeps repeating only in French here in Quebec, that Canadians could wake up to a conservative government next week. That's him doubling down on his strategic voting strategy.
That's a question of who can hold the confidence of the House. Nobody wins. I will win, if I'm lucky, Saanich Gulf Islands. That's where my name's on the ballot. Mr. Scheer can hope to win Fort Qu'Appelle in Saskatchewan. That's the only place his name is on the ballot. Westminster parliamentary democracy is not a presidential race, and his party, so-called, does not have right to do anything unless it can hold the confidence of the House. And under our rules, the outgoing Prime Minister, Mr. Trudeau, gets first crack at it, and all of us get to talk to everyone without it meaning we favor only working with one party.
Green Party leader Elizabeth May is on Vancouver Island, making numerous stops between Campbell River and Ladysmith, where the Greens see their best chance to pick up seats.
If Quebec was to be a country, what would you want it to be? And then we can start rebuilding an idea that might come to get more than 50% of approval and not.
Bloc Québécois leader Yves-François Blanchette, meanwhile, discussed the possibility of another referendum in Quebec today. He was canvassing for votes in Candiac, an off-island suburb of Montreal. And People's Party of Canada leader Maxime Bernier continued to campaign in his riding of Beauce in Quebec. Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.